Welcome to the Bentley Systems training course to learn how to assign properties to concrete structures in Staadpro. Over the next series of videos, we will show you how to assign properties to concrete structures, which will include the topics for assigning properties, assigning specifications, modeling supports, and creating basic primary load cases. After your concrete building structure is modeled in Staadpro, you are ready to move on to assigning properties to your structure. Now all of your properties, your specifications, supports, and load definitions will be happening in the General tab in the Page Control area, which is found at the left-hand side of your graphical user interface for Staadpro. Assigning properties to any structural model in Staadpro is typically a two-step process. We will first start by defining our properties through the Properties dialog, and then we need to assign it to the model. And we have several different assignment methods that we can use in order to accomplish this. We can assign it to selected beams, which means that we would make a selection and then assign the selected property to those members. We can use an edit list, which means we would enter our beam member numbers into a list. We can use our cursor to assign, which means that we will go around and click on the different members in the model, or the Assign to View option, which will be used to assign whatever properties you select to the entire model. We will be exploring several of these assignment methods as we work our way for assigning properties to our concrete building structure. For this video, we will be focusing on assigning properties to our concrete building structure. Now this particular model contains both concrete beams and columns and also a concrete slab. What we will do is we will manually define our member properties for our concrete elements, and we have a variety of different section types to choose from. And then we will also need to define a plate thickness for our slab elements. Now since Staadpro performs a full finite element analysis, it is very important to ensure that you have member properties and plate thicknesses assigned to every member in the model. This way, Staadpro will be able to compute the self-weight of the structure and also be able to assemble the stiffness matrix, which will be used to distribute your forces throughout your structure. I will now open my Concrete 1 dataset model, and I can see that all of the structural geometry for my sample concrete building structure has already been created. I'm now going to define all of the column and beam section properties along with my slab element thickness. To do that, I'm going to go over to my Page Control area and click on the General tab, and the Property subtab should be available by default. Over in the Properties Whole Structure dialog, the two areas I'm going to use for this particular model is the Define button, that'll help me define my beams and my columns, and also the Thickness button, which I'll assign to plates in the model. Now before I specify the properties for my concrete beams and columns, I'm going to look down to my status bar and notice that my current input units are set to kips and feet. I would probably prefer entering the properties for my beams and columns in the units of inches instead. In order to change this, before I go to the properties area, I'm going to go up to my structure toolbar and click on the input units icon. This will allow me to change the units to inches instead of feet, and then I can go ahead and click OK. Now at this point, I'm ready to define my different type of properties. Over in my Properties dialog, I will now click on the Define button, and you can see from here I have several different properties to choose from, including circular and rectangular sections. For this particular model, I'm going to select the rectangular option, and here I can see a nice graphic is available to help give me some additional information, and also my input units have been set to inches. I'm now going to enter my YD and my ZD of 24 inches each, and I'm going to make sure that this checkbox is selected. This will set the material to concrete, and here you can see all the materials I have currently available to me. So I'm going to select the concrete material, and then I'm going to go ahead and click Add, and I can see that a new item has started appearing over here. Now I can enter as many properties as I need for my particular model. I'm going to specify two different ones, one for my beams, one for my columns. So now I'm going to specify my beam property, and I'm going to specify a width of beam of 16 inches. I'm going to keep the depth set to 24 and again select the concrete material. I'm then going to click Add followed by Close, and here I can see all the properties that are now available to be assigned to my model. First, I'm going to assign the 24 by 24 inch item to my columns in the model. So this process would mean I need to go ahead and highlight that particular item over here, and then I'm going to use my Assign to Selected Beams assignment method. So now I can go ahead and start assigning my columns. Now I can go around and just select them in the main window, or I can use my Select menu item to assist me in selecting all the members. Now I know all my columns are parallel to the global y-axis, which in Staadpro is your vertical axis. So I'm going to go up to my menu bar and click Select, Beams Parallel to, and then I'm going to select this Y option. And now you can see automatically all of my columns have been selected. You can see when I make a selection also that my assignment method has automatically changed to Assign to Selected Beams. And I can just go ahead and click Assign, and then I need to confirm the assignment by clicking Yes. And now I can see all of my columns have been given the 24 by 24 inch section assignment. I can then repeat the same process for assigning a section to my beams in my model. So I'm going to highlight the next option, which is my rectangular 24 by 16. Again, I'm going to use my Select menu bar, and this time I'm going to select Beams Parallel to. I'm going to first select X, and then I'm going to go right back and say Select Beams Parallel to, and this time I'll select the global Z-axis. And here you can see all of my beams in my model have now been selected. I'm going to go ahead and ensure that my assignment method is saying Assign to Selected Beams, and then I can just simply click Assign and then confirm the operation by clicking Yes. Now I can see here that basically every member in the model has now been assigned a section property. We are now ready to also define a thickness for our plate elements, which as you can see we do have several plate elements in this area. To do this, I'm going to go over to my Properties dialog and click on my Thickness option. And from the Plate Element Surface Property dialog, I'm going to ensure that my Plate Element Thickness option is selected. And then I'm going to specify the thickness as 12 inches for each of the corner nodes for each element. I'm also going to specify that the material is concrete. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Add, followed by Close. And here you can see that my plate thickness has been added to the Properties dialog. And now again, I need to go ahead and assign this to the model. Now this plate thickness will be applicable to every single element in my model, plate element that is. So over in my assignment methods, I can use the Assign to View option, and this will automatically grab all of your plate elements and assign this property to them. So I can say Assign to View, and then go ahead and click on the Assign button, and I'm going to confirm that operation by clicking Yes. And you can see that Staadpro has automatically grabbed all of the plate elements in my model. Now, after you assign properties to each of your members and elements in your model, you can see a 3D rendering of your structure. In order to do that, I'm going to go over to my Selection toolbar over at the left-hand side of my screen and click on the Geometry icon. This will allow me to select all the beams and elements in my model. So I'm going to draw a fence around all of them. Then I'm going to go up to my View toolbar and click on the 3D Rendered View icon. When I select this, I can see the model in 3D with the appropriate scaling for the sizes I assigned. This might be a good way to make sure your members are oriented correctly, and I can also spin it around to make sure something has been assigned to every element in the model. When you're done reviewing the 3D rendering of your model, you can go ahead and click the X, and we are now finished assigning properties to this model, and we're ready to move on to our next step in our workflow.